something in the chat. Yeah. Board Member Dyer. Here. Board Member Goodhue. Board Member Hall. Here. Board Member Pomeroy. Here. And Chair Croman is absent.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public appearances from anyone in-house or on Zoom that are not on the agenda today? No one? I hear no one. All right, announcements?
None from staff.
Anyone else? Announcements? No? All right. Public appearances. Let's see, we've done that. Consent agenda, we have 2 items. And we can either vote them through or discuss them and pull them from the consent agenda to discuss them. Let's start with number 1, which is the bank building there that we just saw on Ocean and Dolores, where they want to replace stucco that's damaged and put an awning up, which is already there apparently, and change the color slightly. Any comments about that before we go ahead and approve that?
I'll pull it just for a quick question. I don't know if the applicant's here. They are? Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. This is Jason Spades.
Okay. Do you want to make does anyone want to make a motion on the balance of the consent calendar?
Yes. Make a motion to pull it from the consent calendar to discuss it.
I don't think
what we're doing.
You wanted to vote on the rest of the calendar, yeah.
Oh, so you're asking about the peacock tile, etc. on the second one? All right. Do we want to approve that as is, or is there any discussion about that item that we need to address? All right. I move to approve item number 2 on the consent agenda.
Number 2 is actually the bank building. Number 1 is the mural.
Oh, sorry, got it backwards. Okay. Number 1 then. The peacock tile. The peacock tile. I'll second that. Okay. All in favor?
Do we do roll call or?
Yeah.
Board Member Dyer.
Yes.
Board Member Hall.
Yes?
Board Member Pomeroy.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, this was backwards. So Now let's open up discussion on the bank building or the Lob Trust.
Okay, my question was, the bay windows in the front are in a fair amount of disrepair, and I was wondering whether that was included in the upgrades and the maintenance and the stucco repair.
And someone is here representing that
Mr.
project?
Spates?
Yeah, hi. No, it's not included, but we do plan on addressing that in the near future.
Okay, so I guess that would go before us again. And then there's always been I don't know if it shows up in the DPR, but there's always been kind of a hope on the HRB, at least as long as I've been around, that those bays we return the front to its original state, which I think was missing some of the bays. So that would be, I just wanted to make that statement. That's certainly not, you're not obligated to do anything like that, but that's, it was just a beautiful Art Deco building, and the style of the bay windows kind of wrecks it, in my opinion. So if you look at the
Yeah,
DP
I mean, back when it was a bank, I think that made a lot of sense. Nowadays with retail, the retail heavily relies upon their ability to display their merchandise in their windows, so it's pretty important to the business.
Yeah. So I maybe an architecture that's a little more appropriate for the bays that would fit the style of the building. Anyway, I just want to make that statement. You're not obligated to take that advice.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. In any event, if they do keep the bay window, it does need some repair, it looks like.
Which
So,
just sounds like he's
ready to do that.
ready to do it in another
Okay.
phase. Okay.
All right. So, anyone like to make a motion in regard to the Cannon project, 23-233?
I'll make a motion to
23164.
I'm sorry, approve that part of the consent. I guess we're now pulled it, so it's
Sorry, 23-164.
it's a consideration of a track one design review referral for store modification. So it's just
That was the peacock mural.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, we're on
Thank
number
you.
2. Yeah.
Glad we
so I
only
guess
have
we're
2
we're
here.
making a motion to approve the maintenance and repair. So I make that motion.
Please,
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Roll call.
Board Member Dyer,
Yes.
Board Member Hall,
Yes.
Board Member Pomeroy.
Yes.
On to public hearings. So we now have DS 23-201 Vase, which was no action required. Was that being put off?
So this particular project was revised in such a manner that it no longer requires review by the Historic Resources Board.
Okay.
So no action is required on your part. That project will be referred back to staff for final review and approval.
Okay. So then we move on to number 4, which is DS 23-160 Lutz, and that also, they asked for a continuance on that project as well, correct?
So because this item was publicly noticed, we do need to hold the public hearing. The board can vote on whether or not to hear the item this afternoon or continue the item. But either way, we do recommend that you ask if there's any public comment and give the applicant an opportunity to address the board.
Very good. So you're not going to be doing any presentation on it? Is
We
that
are
correct?
prepared to do a presentation if the board would like to hear the item.
Okay. What is the opinion of the rest of the board here?
I think
Continue or,
I'm happy to continue it if the applicant would like to. So maybe we just open the public hearing, and if there's comments, if a lot of comments, then we can choose whether we move forward.
and Kathy?
Either way.
Either way, okay. Yes, let's hear public comment then, if there is any, on this project.
So this would be an opportunity if the applicant would like to address the board, or any member of the public would like to comment on DS 23-160, the Lutz project.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So the board is considering whether or not to continue the item. So if you would like to address the board on that issue.
Yeah, I would, real quickly. First of all, I just want to say, did we lose a member that was on the tour?
We did. She may be joining us later in the meeting, but she did have an urgent matter that she had to go attend
So
to.
is this moot? Can we even do anything with 3 people here?
We can.
Oh,
We do
okay.
have a quorum of 3, so we could move forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't know how it worked. I just want to say first and foremost, thanks to all of you for your time and energy volunteering. You give up your time, and I know this is a lot of effort, and you guys do it for free. So, I don't have time in my life, and I appreciate that people do and put that kind of time into their community. So thank you for doing it. Thank you for volunteering. I really do appreciate it. It's one of the things that makes Carmel great. It's why we want to be in Carmel, because people do care and take the time to look at design, pay attention to it. That's why we bought this house. We could have easily requested continuance by saying we were here, we were unable to attend because we're sick, et cetera, but that's just not how we operate. We operate up front, so that's not why we're asking for the continuance. In our last appearance before you guys last month, of which I know Eric wasn't here, we were asked to make significant compromises to our plan. Looking back on it, we feel there's a possibility we would not have had to make those compromises had we had all 5 HRB members voting instead of only 4. However, in the interest of moving forward in our project, we accepted the request for change and have had to modify, give up some of the key things that we wanted and needed in the project. A lot of them having to do with storage because of the reworking of the plan. We're really only coming back and re-petitioning on one item because the setback request is a moot item, because we're only doing that in order to necessitate the other changes that you requested. So the setback is really not our doing, it was just to meet the requests of the HRB. And that item we're coming back on is the size of the garage. A 200 square foot garage allows really neither access in and out of our cars that we both have X3s, nor any room for storage that we've lost as a result of reworking the plan. Further, as you saw from the staking, the 250 versus the 200, and I would let Thomas get into this more, doesn't have any effect on the views of the historical structure. And in fact, your own consultant that was brought in by the city for the Historical Review Board didn't have any problem with the 250-foot garage and its effect on the view of the structure. She said nothing about it. She was approved of the 250-foot garage. It will, however, affect our ability to use the garage and make it more likely for us to use it only as storage and park our car on the street, which works against precisely why the city approves garages, which is to get cars off the street. So I guess what I'm saying is, unless you can tell me that we have the votes to get our garage approved, Carol and I respectfully request a continuance to November so that we can get a vote on this that feels fair, complete to all sides. That's it. Any questions?
I guess my question would be, I don't know if we'll get to that point of voting before.
Right.
So the question is whether we do go through a continuance or not.
So are you still requesting a continuance? Because if so, then staff can go ahead and give a presentation if you want to move forward and have the item heard. Or the board can take a vote on whether or not to continue this and have the discussion at a later meeting.
So so I can't hear any of the discussion before we ask for the continuance?
No, unfortunately not.
I feel like I'm on Let's Make a Deal or something. With a $20,000 pyramid, let me consult with my family. What do you guys think? Why are you going with the project? That's the thing.
Well, can I just say what I think is fine is if we go through the staff report and if we can discuss our individual opinions, and at that point, if you would, I mean, this is my opinion, I'll let staff and the chair just make that determination, but if at that point we still have 2 missing members and you feel you want to continue it at that point, I'd be willing to entertain that, but that's me.
I would feel more comfortable with 5 full members here to make that decision.
We have 4.
I mean, well, next time, with the continuance, 5 full members here to vote on this. Here comes number 4.
Sorry about that.
That's okay, that was quick.
So at this, I guess at this stage, a board member can make a motion to continue. And if that motion passes, then the project can come back at a later date. If the motion does not pass, then staff is prepared to go ahead and make a presentation and have the item heard this afternoon.
So let's start with, I'll make a motion for a continuance and see if that flies with the rest of the group. Roll call.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'm sorry, I don't know what the motion, like we're working on what?
So we are on item number 4, DS 23160, the Lutz project.
Okay,
And the board is considering a request for a continuance.
okay, I'll second.
Okay.
Board Member Dyer,
I'll say yes.
Board Member Goodhue,
Yes,
Board Member Hall,
Yes?
Board Member Pomeroy.
Yes.
Okay, so
All
the
right,
item is continued.
The item is continued. Okay, thank you for the input. We'll move on then to DS 23-126 Barnes. Consideration of adding the historic H.G. Phillips House to the Carmel Register of Historic Resources, granting the creation of a design nonconformity, and issuing a determination of consistency with the Secretary of the Interior standards for the treatment of historic properties. So at this point, we would ask for a report from the staff.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And good afternoon. The next project before you is Design Study 23126, Barnes. The board is considering whether to add this historic property to the Carmel Register, whether to grant a setback exception, and then also whether to issue a determination of consistency for additions to the home. So the project consists of an interior remodel and a 333 square foot rear addition to the historic G.H. Phillips house. The applicant is also proposing to construct a new 185 square foot rear yard deck. There's a unique feature of this property, as you saw on the tour. There is a 2-car garage, is detached, and it's located on the south property line. And it is shared by 2 different property owners. And no changes are proposed to this garage, but it does factor into the request for the setback exception, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So the G.H. Phillips house was constructed in 1925. It's a craftsman bungalow. It was reviewed in 2003 by preservation consultant Kent Seavey and found to be historic. It's a good unaltered example of a front gable type craftsman bungalow. Mr. Seavey's report also noted the two-car garage that was constructed on that south property line as a related structure to this historic resource. So the project site is a 4,000 square foot lot. The existing bungalow is 660 square feet. It's a one-story, two-bedroom, one-bath home. And at the rear is an existing 220 square foot deck. Again, the applicant is proposing an interior remodel. This would convert the existing living room into a bedroom, which is at the front of the house, and then convert an existing bedroom to an ensuite bathroom. The 333 square foot addition at the rear of the home would be for a new living room space. And then a new smaller deck at 185 square feet is proposed between the addition and the detached garage. So this just gives you a side-by-side comparison of the existing and the proposed footprints. You can see the top is existing, and on the bottom, the orange outline is where the proposed addition is at the rear of the house. So additions to a historic resource do require a determination of consistency with the Secretary's standards. That determination is required to be prepared by a qualified professional, and staff worked with Meg Clovis on this project, who did find the project to be consistent as long as one recommendation was implemented regarding the board and batten siding. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in just a moment. So properties that are listed on the local historic inventory are also eligible to be listed on the Carmel Register. And this listing provides benefits, one of which is the creation or expansion of a design nonconformity. The applicant is requesting to be added to the register and is seeking approval to create a design nonconformity in the composite side yard setback. So again, only identified historic resources that are in the Carmel inventory are eligible for the register. And if they are significant at a local level, they can only be placed on the register upon request by the property owner and with approval by the board. So one of the benefits the applicant is seeking to take advantage of is the creation of a design nonconformity. And again, this has to do with the composite side yard setback. So Carmel has two setback standards. We have a minimum, which is 3 feet, and then we have a composite, which is a combined side yard setback of 10 feet. The existing bungalow does have a 5'4" setback on the north side. The proposed addition would also maintain that setback, but because the addition overlaps with the garage, which has a 0 setback, the applicant's unable to meet the composite setback of 10 feet and therefore is requesting that the board approve the creation of this design nonconformity. And so staff will also noted in the report that we did explore other options with the applicant on how to create additional living space while adhering to the setbacks. And the proposal that's before the board this afternoon is the preferred design option because it remains completely hidden behind the historic resource, therefore preserving the historic integrity of the original bungalow. With respect to the determination of consistency, as you've heard in prior meetings, there are 4 standards by which we evaluate exterior modifications. Rehabilitation is the most common standard that we use and is also the standard applied to this project. So there's 10 criteria for evaluating modifications. Again, Meg Clovis prepared the assessment for this project. She did find that the addition is consistent with the standards. She noted a number of standards that were not applicable to this project. And the one recommendation to be consistent with Standard 9 is differentiation of the board and batten on the addition from what is currently on the historic bungalow. So the original board and batten siding is located in the gable ends of the bungalow, which you can see here on the front elevation above the shed roof, which creates a porch. The applicant has taken dimensions of those board and battens, and they are 2.5-inch battens with 10-inch spacing. The applicant is proposing 4-inch battens with 20-inch spacing on the addition. Staff does find that the proposed spacing is sufficiently differentiated from the historic material, and we have proposed a condition of approval, just that these dimension details of both existing and proposed are included with the plans that get presented to the Planning Commission for final approval. And with that, staff's recommendation is that the board adopt a resolution adding the project to the Carmel Register, granting the creation of a design nonconformity in the form of the composite setback exception, and issuing a determination of consistency for the G.H. Phillips House. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Marnie. Any questions from the board? All right. Let's open it up to the public. Anyone here for this project like to speak?
I would like to ask a question.
Go ahead.
My name's Megan Koch, and I own the property at the 0 southwest corner of Santa Fe and 2nd, so that might be lot 1 in reference to this. And I just wanted to know if there were any neighbor inputs directly on either side, so lot 2 and 5 to this, and what they think about this existing non-conforming agreement.
Can anyone speak to that?
So I'll say from staff's perspective, no one has reached out to staff with any comments on the project. I'll also defer to the applicant, Eric Weinkoop, to see if anyone has reached out to him directly.
Yeah, I can just only comment that the neighbor to the south did give us a letter of support for the project, and also trying to obviously maintain her garage intact because they shared the garage. But she was fully supportive in a letter that should be in the files at Carmel-by-the-Sea. But that's all I can say. Otherwise, we've had no feedback either way.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I can make a motion.
I just have one question for Eric, if I could.
Sure.
So, first, Eric, is there anything else you want to say about the project? You were, didn't want to.
No, well, thank you for asking, Eric. No, it was just that we worked very hard to make the project be very compliant by building it smaller and quieter and in the rear of the building, not visible from the street even after it's built, and really respecting the historic resource as well as the neighbors, and doing everything we could outside of moving that garage, which is kind of a fixed element. So there's where we're asking for help to be able to move forward. But everything else, we just, I'm obviously a big proponent of historic resources and also having a smooth application. So we were able to come to a design the client approved that we feel met all of the 10 items on the rehabilitation checklist.
Okay. And the other question I had was, since there's such a large north setback, I mean, in terms of the space between the property line and the house versus the existing fence in the house, is there thought to relocating the fence and providing a little more space on the north side, or is it?
I don't know if the owner has spoken to the neighbors to the north about that. But we did see that when we got the survey completed, but we haven't had a discussion about that yet.
Okay. The only other comment I would make is normally, because it's such a tight setback on the north side, I usually like to see a change in plane from the historic resource to the addition. But since it's so tight, I don't think anyone's ever going to see that transition. So,
Right.
And in terms of the cumulative setback and putting it on the historic register to allow for that exception, I think I'm definitely for it. I think the whole, one of the most important things of allowing historic resources to be as functional as possible for the owners into the future, and trying to do that without, which I think this does, without harming the integrity of the resource, is a really important way to encourage preservation. So I'm in favor of that.
Thank
Any other
you.
board comments? Eric, do you have anything more to say?
No, I was just thanking Eric. Thank you.
Okay. Either of the other two board members have anything to say about it? No? All right. Then I will proceed to make a motion on DS 23-126, the Barnes project, that I move for agreement with both the historic consultant and the staff to approve including this house on the Carmel register and allowing a non-conforming composite setback for the addition, the deck addition, and the back room 333 square foot room addition with differentiation of board and batten.
I second it.
Okay. Roll call.
Board Member Dyer,
Yes.
Board Member Goodhue,
Yes?
Board Member Hall,
Yes?
Board Member Pomeroy,
Yes.
Approved. All right. So that.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. So director's report.
So just a couple of items for the board this afternoon. One is a reminder that the city's birthday and annual Halloween parade is coming up on Tuesday, October 31st. So you should have received a message from Leslie Fenton. If you have not responded yet as to whether or not you'll be attending, please do so at your earliest convenience. And then also an update, we did go out for recruitment to fill Saray Nathan's position. And we received upwards of 60 applications in return, which was really exciting. So first interviews have been completed. Second interviews are being scheduled for either this week or next week. And we hope to be welcoming a new planner on board very soon. And then last, there is a special meeting of the Planning Commission coming up on November 15th. The time is still to be determined, but this is going to be a workshop to discuss our local ADU ordinance and different changes to state legislation. So if that's of interest to you, mark your calendar for November 15th, and more details will be coming soon. And that's all I have.
Question, at the next council meeting, are we still on for the Notable Homes project, or has it been moved?
My understanding at this point in time is that it is on the agenda for November.
Okay, thank you, Marnie. All right, any future agenda items? No? Hearing none? Next regular meeting is November 20th. 2023, and I believe we can adjourn. Thank you.
So Don.